Good morning. Good morning. Hi, my name is Melissa Gaston, and I am the Executive Director for the North End Community Coalition. I want to welcome everybody to our space today. This is our space called The Nest, which is here on the campus of Camp North End. We're so excited to have you here today, and we're excited about the United Way, one of our great partners. So we're going to go ahead and get this started. Thank you. Oh, it got so quiet.
Good morning, everyone. And thank you, Melissa, for hosting us, inviting us to this wonderful space, and for being such a wonderful partner. I want to thank our elected officials that were able to join us today. We appreciate all of the support that you've given United Way for many years, and for your commitment to a shared vision of prosperity for our entire community. I also want to thank County Manager DiOrio and City Manager Jones for being here and participating, and also for your longstanding support of United Way. We wouldn't be where we are today without both of you and your leadership. And I also want to thank the United Way Board of Directors and our amazing staff team. I'm thrilled to see so many of our friends and colleagues and so many new friends here today to celebrate the work of United Way and the work that all of our partners do every day to create change in our community. It is a new year. It is a new day. And this is a new United Way. Our organization has always been about helping those most in need, about ending the cycle of poverty, about improving economic mobility, so that we have a brighter future for every child and family in this community. But how we did that needed to change. We needed to include more voices, we needed to push beyond traditional solutions, and we needed to get more proximate to the work. In the immortal words of Dolly Parton, if you don't take the reins, it's not going to happen. Nothing's going to change if you don't change it. So we've spent the last several years completely overhauling how we do our work. And as a result, we have two special announcements today. First, you might have noticed, we are changing our name to United Way of Greater Charlotte. This name evokes a more specific geography, which better connects people to where their dollars are being invested and better reflects the region we serve, which is Mecklenburg, Cabarrus, Union, and Anson counties. The refreshed brand and messaging also reflect the energy and commitment of all of our dedicated partners as we work together to solve our community's most challenging issues. In a few minutes, we'll share a brief video that captures the spirit of the new brand and the message that we'll share with the broader community. But for my second announcement, I'm thrilled to share that United Way's 2023 community investments total more than $16 million, including $9 million in grants and capacity building for 132 nonprofits. These grants will provide critical general operating support to organizations across our region working to end poverty and improve economic mobility. The grant recipients are primarily neighborhood-based and grassroots organizations, and many are receiving their first ever grant from United Way. This investment reflects the funding strategy United Way has phased in over the last several years. This is a shift that we made after Charlotte was ranked 50th out of the 50 largest metropolitan cities in economic mobility. Also after the racial unrest that we experienced in 2016. This year, we will invest $4.9 million in United Neighborhoods to reach more than 50 neighborhoods, up from $1.3 million and 3 neighborhoods last year. This initiative amplifies investment in the neighborhoods identified in the City of Charlotte's corridors of opportunity and in northern Mecklenburg County. In addition, we will invest $3 million in Unite Charlotte to fund 55 grassroots organizations, thanks to continued funding from Mecklenburg County and other corporate and philanthropic partners. We will also make regional investments totaling more than $873,000 to fund 27 organizations in Cabarrus, Union, and Anson counties to support the specific priorities of those communities. And I want to thank specifically our regional leaders and volunteers who work tirelessly to ensure we remember that Charlotte does not exist in a bubble. We are a region, and we have regional issues that need to be addressed. This collective investment boosts grants to nonprofit agencies led by people of color to 76%. 60% of the grant recipients have budgets under $500,000. And the organizations are addressing a wide variety of issues in their communities: access to health and mental health care, economic security, housing, child care, food security, youth programs, just to name a few. Finally, thanks to the City of Charlotte, an additional $5 million is being invested in housing solutions through housing subsidies and wraparound services, primarily for those experiencing homelessness. We are grateful to our partners, the Salvation Army, Community Link, the Housing Collaborative, and Catholic Charities, as they work collectively to address one of our most critical needs. Now we'll share a brief video with you and then be joined by Dee Odell, the board chair of United Way of Greater Charlotte.
At United Way of Greater Charlotte, we're blazing new paths forward by breaking down barriers and creating better outcomes through clear, open, bold, and impactful solutions. Focusing on uplifting our neighborhoods and emerging grassroots leadership is the clear way. In our 4 counties, no zip code should determine your future. Uniting people and purpose to form fresh solutions is the bold way. Replacing complacency with action creates sustainable change. Understanding our communities through collaboration is the open way. We come together with vital partnerships to solve complex problems. Fueling big ideas that create ripples of good is the impactful way. Data you can see and feel supports everything we do. We are fired by a shared passion for a greater good in Greater Charlotte. This is the new way, the United Way of Greater Charlotte. Explore more opportunities to get involved at unitedwaygreaterclt.org/getinvolved.
Good morning. I'm Dee Odell, and I'm the chair of the Board of Directors of the United Way of Greater Charlotte. It is my pleasure to speak to you today on behalf of the board on this important occasion. Our United Way has evolved to meet the needs of our community, and today is addressing complex issues such as economic mobility, access to important resources, and racial equity through innovative solutions and new partnerships. Over the past several years and through the pandemic, and in conjunction with many of the great organizations gathered here today, the United Way has invested in neighborhood organizations and partner agencies to bring the right resources to address long-standing issues and to build the capacity for individuals and organizations to effect change in their communities. The United Way has a long tradition as a convener and a facilitator. And today, this organization is more committed than ever to engagement with individual donors, corporate investors, foundations, and government entities to create dramatic and lasting change in our community. This is what we do well. We are investing in the leadership and capacity building of grassroots organizations and leveraging the great work of many innovative institutions with direct input and guidance from the communities we're serving. It is indeed a new day at the United Way. Building on a legacy of impact, we are leading the way with coordinated investments across our community. Part of this work is made possible by and happens in coordination with government entities. And it's my pleasure to welcome to the stage my friend and fellow board member, Mecklenburg County Manager Dina DiOrio, to share her perspective on this work.
Thank you, Dee. Good morning. As Dee said, I am Mecklenburg County Manager Dina DiOrio, and I am happy to be here to help recognize the valuable work of the newly rebranded United Way of Greater Charlotte. The name has changed, but we know the important work and unwavering commitment continue. Mecklenburg County shares United Way's commitment to advancing racial equity. In that work, we recognize the valuable contribution made by community-based, grassroots organizations led by people of color. Mecklenburg County has invested $3.2 million in the Unite Charlotte initiative. That initiative directs funding and capacity building to support to grassroots organizations led by people of color. I also recognize and value United Way's role as a trusted convener. United Way stands at the intersection of the public sector, private philanthropy, nonprofit providers, and the community. Mecklenburg County and United Way have had a relationship that spans decades, and that kind of time together is meaningful. The county has also trusted the United Way with leading an ambitious, community-wide effort to address critical issues of housing and homelessness. Working towards racial equity and improving economic mobility for our residents takes work from a lot of dedicated people. I believe that in order to serve our community, you have to be bold and have a vision of how things could be, to see what is possible and how to best help people. Mecklenburg County is proud to partner with the United Way of Greater Charlotte as we continue this important work. Thank you so much for being here today, and now I'd like to introduce my friend and colleague, Charlotte City Manager Marcus Jones.
Good morning, everyone. So it's kind of interesting. I was going to tell a story about Councilmember Malcolm Graham, and lo and behold, he's popped into the meeting. So I may have to change the story just a little bit. So if we go back to 2019, when Councilmember Graham was doing a second tour on City Council, when he was being sworn in, he basically said, and I don't think you've forgotten this, can we stop focusing on the shiny objects and start focusing on the communities that haven't changed over decades? So we like a challenge. So our team said, well, we'll take that on. And even at the first retreat of that council, the conversation came up about how do you address upward mobility throughout our entire community. And so this was born, the Corridors of Opportunity. And those corridors, and so I'm going to say what they're supposed to do, but many times you say things and you put it on a shelf and you don't execute. But I'm also going to talk about execution this morning. So the goal of the corridors is to develop and sustain beautiful, safe, and prosperous communities, places where families can grow strong and build legacies for the future. Sounds good, right? But the council acted. They just didn't have a vision. They actually identified 6 different corridors, Albemarle Central Avenue, Beatties Ford Road, Freedom Drive, Wilkinson, Graham, North Tryon Street, Sugar Creek, I-85, and West Boulevard. So that was the beginning, but then there was, so what do you do? So they actually set aside $62 million over a 5-year period to make investments in these 6 corridors. So you have the what, but then how do you do it? And we had learned part of our problem over the decades had been that we do pretty good things as a city in terms of the built environment. But just building, let's say, a road, but not having the amenities on that road was part of the problem. So as our organization evolved, we were more horizontal in discussing how can we transform these communities. But it wasn't just how we can be horizontal within the organization. How can we bring our partners along? How can we be teammates with the county and with United Way and with some of our more giving philanthropic organizations? So we started to say, okay, there's a sidewalk, right? So we built a sidewalk. But rather than just building a sidewalk, we asked ourselves, are there businesses or services on that side, along that sidewalk? Is there lighting? Is there transit stops? Are there opportunities for placemaking? So all of a sudden, everybody felt that they could be a part of it and not just CDOT building a sidewalk. So our mindset has been cross-collaboration within our organization, but also expanding that beyond the organization. While we are pretty good at the built environment, we're so much better when we work together. So our work with United Way exemplifies the power of these public-private partnerships. Laura, you have been a phenomenal partner. And and where we're pretty good with the built environment, it doesn't work unless you have health and education and workforce development. So thank you, Dina, as we partnered on multiple levels. So I'll tell you one story, and then I'll stop, and then I'll turn it over to Charles Thomas. So not every time when you have a great idea, it works. So we asked Laura, and you didn't know that I was going to say this. We asked Laura to help us with launching a Safe Charlotte grant program, $1 million program. And we asked her to help us launch it in 3 months. So she helped us, and we launched it. But we, not Laura, we didn't get it right. And so we were open enough to understand how we missed the mark. And you just don't put $1 million out there without thinking about capacity building. So it's not just that you're able to help us execute. We also look to you for the guidance in the execution. So it's a great day. It's great to be here. And I would like to turn it over to my friend, Charles Thomas.
So good morning, everyone. My name is Charles Thomas. I'm the program director for the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation. So I'm thrilled and pleased to announce a $450,000 grant to United Way to support its United Neighborhoods Initiative, a new commitment to advance equitable development in Charlotte's historic West End. And so since Marcus is telling a few stories, I guess I'll tell one too. So Knight Foundation has been investing in the West End since 2015. And so when I began to socialize the possibility of Knight supporting United Way with this particular grant, I remember my leadership going, United Way? And so just a little background. Knight Foundation is based out of Miami. And so we invest in 26 cities across the country. And what I found was there was just a kind of a thought that, United Way from kind of an old perspective. And what I had to share with them was that our United Way is so different. They're so innovative. There's so much on the front lines, and they very much align to the values that Knight Foundation has in Charlotte. And that's focusing in neighborhoods and focusing on the residents and making sure that what we're doing is resident-centered and is being led by residents who are proximate to the work. And so our interest in Charlotte, as I said, has been in the West End and the West Side, specifically in the corridors of Beatties-Ford Road, West Boulevard, the North End corridors. We've invested over $8 million since 2015 in these corridors, and it's to make sure that residents are participating and benefiting from the development of their districts because we're growing so quickly. And Knight Foundation values our partnership with the United Way because of our shared effort to advance comprehensive and resident-centered development in our city. And as has been mentioned, the United Way has been a leader in this work. So they've been leading the philanthropic community, other philanthropy, in studying racial equity and understanding what it really means to have a more equitable city. And they've been piloting innovative ways to approach economic mobility. They've also been a champion and leader in innovative grant making, such as participatory grant making with our residents. And they've been convening public and private partners interested in place-based work to ensure our investments are coordinated and aligned. And so it is truly, I'm truly glad and grateful to be here and truly honored to be partnered with United Way. And I know that the work that we do in the West End would not be possible without our great partnership and the great leadership and thought partnership and leadership of United Way, particularly Laura and Catherine. And so I'm grateful and thankful to be here, and I'm excited to welcome Melissa back to the stage, who's also one of our grantees, to talk about the North End Community Coalition. Thank you.
Thank you again for joining us here in the Nest, our space for the North End Community Coalition. Wanted to talk a little bit about our partnership with the United Way. The United Way, they gave us our first major grant that we got as a nonprofit, and what we did a series on gentrification. That series on gentrification, I think we did it in 2018 or 2019 is when we did it. And gentrification, of course, is something that's happening across the whole community, but we wanted to bring the neighborhood together. And United Way, by giving us that grant, gave us the opportunity to do that. It was transformational. I just think it made a difference to the residents here because it showed them that we were listening to them. Our nonprofit is based on the 8 neighborhoods that surround Camp North End. And what is important about our neighborhoods and what about our nonprofit is that it's led by residents, and that's what we do. So we are on the ground, speaking to residents, letting them tell us what they need and what they want. And that parlays directly into the United Way and their mission. So when they came to us and said, hey, we want to do this new form of grant making this year, and said, we want the residents to decide what you need. They want the residents to decide who's going to serve you and what are our focus and priorities, and they're going to fund that for us. So that was phenomenal because so often when you see in quarters that are changing or areas that are changing, people come into the community and say, hey, this is what you need, and this is what we're going to do for you. And United Way said, nope, we're not doing it that way. That's not how we operate. We want to make sure that you are a better organization, that your residents are a better organization. And they wanted to make sure our leaders of our organizations had the capacity to do what they needed to do and learn the leadership. One of the best opportunities that we received from the United Way, in addition to their funding, was to be able to participate in a class from Duke University where we were able to, the leaders of the various grassroots organizations were able to get a certificate in nonprofit management. That was phenomenal because it did one thing. It gave us the basics that we needed, and we were able to gather together. There were probably 25 maybe organizations in there, but we were able to get together and share among ourselves, find out what we were doing that was going well, what wasn't going well, and from that, we've all learned to cooperate together because we all know nonprofits in Charlotte. Charlotte is a big city, but the nonprofit world is big, but it's small. Everybody's interconnected. Everybody knows each other. So if you can get together and collaborate together, it's so important, and that's what we're doing. So they gave me some talking points, and I hate to read, so I'm not going to read. So I did write down a couple things just to make sure that I'm covering everything, but it allows us, I think the partnership that we've had with United Way has just been, they call and check on me. I've had some personal things going on in my life the last couple of years, and they call and just check on me and say, hey, how are you doing? How are you doing personally? Not nonprofit stuff, not just how are you doing personally. And so because of that, they're allowing us in the community and myself to improve the lives of our residents, improve our neighborhoods, and do what matters to our neighborhoods. And that's what's so important. It allows the residents to be included and involved, because I say that is so important. Like I said, so many times people have come into the community and said, hey, this is what you need. And they did the total opposite. So they've been transformative in what they do. We're very appreciative of that. And I'm going to say this one quote, and I'm sure if you guys know me in the last couple of years, you've heard this quote before, but the United Way has allowed us to be visible, vital, and valuable. Thanks.
Thank you to all of our speakers, not just for your commitment to United Way, but to creating a better community. When United Way began this journey about 5 years ago, there were some who thought it would never happen, that United Way's best days were behind it. But thanks to the leadership, vision, and generosity of our board, donors, and community partners, we stayed the course. And we've turned the organization in a direction that is both sustainable and impactful. Our best days as a community and as an organization still lie ahead. Thanks to our nonprofit partners for the critical work you do every day to change lives. You are fearless and tenacious, and it is our honor to work with you every day. We will only realize our vision for this region, one where every child has the opportunity to succeed and every neighborhood has the resources to prosper if we work together. Collectively, we can do more than any one of us could do on our own. And together, we will create greater good for Greater Charlotte. Thank you for being here.